Hey folks, it's me, it's Brian, and we are here for the Manage Comics AMA, Ask Me Anything. So I am about ready. Yeah, we're just kind of waiting for folks to trickle in. I see we got 9 viewers. I think last time we had 53 viewers, and then there were hundreds of people that watched it after the fact. So we'll definitely send this out afterwards as in an email so that you can check it out. I see we got Jeff from Comic Fever. We got Heroes and Fantasies, which I believe is probably Adam. We got Collector's Corner Incorporated. So awesome. Good to see you guys. And by all means, let's make this as interactive as we can, and let's get questions out there. I want to start off by saying, first of all, at 1 week ago today at 5:18 p.m., Shopify finally approved our app. So we took a bunch of time to just kind of get ourselves kind of organized immediately following that. And I think on Friday we sent out our invites to our first 6 beta stores. As far as I know, I think 1, 2, 3, looks like 4 of them are using it kind of regularly. I've gotten some really great questions. Julian from BD Cosmos asked me, I think it was 15 questions at 1:18 in the morning one night. And we've kind of gone through and asked, hey, it's Docking Bay 94 and books with pictures. Hello, folks. I'm actually going to answer Docking Bay. I'm going to answer your question about War of the Bounty Hunters right up first. So we'll talk about that. And look, it's my buddy Craig. So first of all, let me just talk about the last time we did one of these. I used my fancy microphone and nobody could hear me. It turns out I had it backwards. And I know how to use this stupid mic, but it's got a kind of front facing thing. So yeah, hopefully I sound much better today than I did last time. So yeah, let's kind of dive right into it. It was a week ago today that we got approved. So we've been in beta for about a week. We've learned a lot, and this is kind of, I've been really excited to get it into people's hands so that we can figure out exactly what it is that we need to know and need to do better. I knew that this would come, that people would have some issues with kind of check-in, and I really wanted to kind of go through those. One of the ways I'm going to do that is my local comic store. I've actually asked them if I can come in and watch them do a check-in, and then next week when we get them on 2.0, I'll watch how they do the check-in with the new system, and hopefully, I'll learn a lot from that. So yeah, it's really exciting because I got my code elves hard at work behind the scenes, and I'm just kind of fielding questions and handling, the easy part, which is writing specs for all these problems as they crop up. Before we get started on 2.0, I want to do a little bit of 1.0 housekeeping. I know there's been some problem with War of the Bounty Hunters. There was an alpha, and then there was a regular series, and somehow somebody, and probably me, put the one-time product on the regular series and not on the alpha. And what ended up happening is people deleted both in their system. And the way that 1.0 works is when one store deletes it, I get a notification and I just go through and delete them. So somebody deleted alpha and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And then later somebody deleted regular series and I was like, no, actually the regular series got auto deleted when it got pulled. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Delete it. And now we're in this horrible state where both War of the Bounty Hunters are missing. 2.0, that will never be a problem because they're 2 different series and we're going to group them together. So anybody that gets the alpha can get the regular series. Yeah, so this is a horrible nightmare that I'm kind of working my way through, and it's agonizingly slow. And I apologize, John. I know you've asked me a couple times about this. It's a nightmare. So I am fixing it. Kind of more pressing, not more pressing because that's very pressing. Also pressing was Penguin Random House. So the switch over to Penguin Random House. And as a little treat, Lunar started distributing Ahoy Comics and Scout Comics. So we had this weird kind of thing where we need to also address that. And of course you can get your DC trades from Penguin Random House. So what we did, and I'll share my screen so you can see kind of our solution for all this. So if I go, let's go over screen and web page to start out with. So this is our Managed Comics example shop. And right now I'm on the initial order page. We default to the diamond order. I can see my Lunar order and what's available. It looks to me like some stuff is missing in this order this month. So what I suspect has happened is sometimes the data we get from Lunar isn't spectacular. So I'm going to have to go through and see what's missing in terms of series codes. And that's what it usually boils down to, is they've got bad series codes. This is another reason why we've created our own series codes, and we're going to manage that process going forward, because frankly, we can't rely on multiple distributors who each do it in a different way. So we're going to map all their series codes to our master series code, and it'll be super easy for me to kind of reassign series when they get out of sync, which happens with alarming regularity because of the data. So if I go here, there's a new setting called distribution settings. And from here, I can choose from, right now, we've only populated the publishers that can have different distributors. In 2.0, the way that we're going to handle this, it will be it's like a matrix. But the matrix will only allow you to assign publishers to distributors that currently have deals with those publishers. So for example, Scout Comics, I can change it from Diamond to Lunar. Marvel Comics, I'll change that over to Penguin Random House. DC Comics Books and Trades, let's change that over to Penguin Random House. And Ahoy Comics, I'm going to change over to Lunar. We will also alphabetize this because that is in what I believe is random order. Actually, it's probably in the order that I don't know. That's a weird order. Going back to my initial order report now, if I generate my Diamond order, we'll see that it doesn't have any Ahoy or Scout in it. My Lunar will now have, well, if I had any Ahoy or Scout, it would be over here. And my Penguin Random House now has all my DC trades and my Marvel Comics comics. So yeah, this is ready to go. We're just porting this same kind of logic over to 2.0 right now. I think this is going to work out well for everybody. So, oh, this is all not in this report. So that's not great. I'll take a look at why these didn't show up, because these should have shown up in my PRH. But that's a good problem to have. I can solve that. This is why we haven't sent out a bunch of emails about this stuff yet, because we're still doing final checks on it. What I will bet you has happened is, so this is one of the things that everybody has to be aware. When we start using Penguin Random House, their initial code is actually the UPC or the ISBN number. And I will bet you that I've opened this file up in Excel and it just corrupts that number. So I'll just re-upload the August 2021 and it will fix itself. I have to do this quite often because Excel corrupts things terribly. And actually Penguin Random House has a really good kind of how-to on how to open up a file in Excel and not corrupt it. And I will include that in, I think that's included in the 2.0 manual, but I'll make sure that I have that as a separate thing that I send out shortly. So yeah, that is our 1.0 housekeeping. Let's chat 2.0 real quick. And if anybody has a question at any point, throw it on the chat. I've got a chat up on my side here. I can grab the questions from the chat and I'll answer those as well. And my partner Craig is around, so he can kind of ping me offline if anybody has a chat as well. But I do have, I think I've got 8 questions that I took before this meeting, this live stream. And I'll definitely answer those questions as well. So 2.0 housekeeping. Let's just start off with what is Managed Comics. So Managed Comics is subscription software for comic stores that actually extends Shopify and creates a bunch of new kind of features for it that allows it to do intakes and initial ordering. We're also going to tweak some stuff with the initial ordering inputs, and we're going to tweak things with purchase orders. So you'll be able to create purchase orders beforehand, which you can then track through the system. So the idea is really, if you're ordering 10 copies of, let's say, I don't know, I'm going to make something up. I'm going to say the current Nightwing trade, and you've got 5 copies on order from Lunar, and you've got 5 copies on order from Penguin Random House, and you've got, for some reason, 5 copies on order from Ingram. We want to be able to say you've got 15 copies incoming. They're going to allocate this way, 5, 5, and 5. When 5 copies come in from Lunar, if they come in first, then you'll know you've still got 10 copies outstanding. So it'll hopefully kind of give you one place to monitor all that stuff, sort of like Moby. We've already got our first question. Do we have an ETA or timeline for migrating 1.0 folks to 2.0? Yeah, I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to leave that till the end because that's good. Do we have a timeline for migration launch? Yeah, that's my that's my hook to keep you here. So we do have a timeline, and it's really based around what we've got left to do that we've kind of discovered as we've started getting real users using it. And part of that is migration and taking people from 1.0 to 2.0. I've done a couple of migrations myself by hand to see how they work. They're not great right now, so we really need to nail that. I don't know if you watched Titans this week, but I need to get that down to 0%. Danica, welcome from Variant Edition. So yeah, I want to get that stuff down to, really, really good, because right now it's kind of hit or miss, and that part has to be rock solid before we go live. Okay. So what is Managed Comics? It's subscription management software that helps you manage your store. It also helps you manage your ordering and really kind of puts everything in one place. Can I use Managed Comics 2 without Shopify? So that's a great question. And the answer is no. You at least need a Shopify website because the entire front end of the thing is going to be with Shopify, and the back end of allocating things will all be Shopify as well. So you at least need to have a Shopify website. We would prefer you also use Shopify POS or BinderPause. And the reason for that is because then it will give us a full kind of accounting of where everything went. So everything you sold, did you sell it online or offline? What did you sell through subs versus what did you sell at the cash register? All that stuff will really give us a bigger picture and help us to help you order things in the future. So that is in a nutshell, what is Managed Comics 2 and what are the pre-requirements, whichever one you want to use of those two. Let me just pop a couple questions real quick. Jeff asked, did I get a chance to look at those invoices and why I cannot load them in the system? I have actually looked at the invoices. That was yesterday. And I've got guys looking at them right now. I have some questions for you about how you got those. So one of the big issues is we gotta, if we're grabbing invoices right from Diamond or wherever, they tend to work without problems. But as soon as somebody opens them up to like edit them, which has happened yesterday with another client of ours, bad things happen just because every single system will save things differently. So for example, if I save a CSV file in Numbers, it just saves it nice and clean with comma separated values, which is actually as it was intended. The invoices we get from Diamond, every single item is in quotes. So it's not a true CSV. It's like a quote CSV. So yeah, all those things kind of make differences, and we've only really accounted for getting something directly from Diamond and not having people process it. A couple other questions here. How will you migrate users from Pullbox to Managed Comics? Oh man, that's an awesome question. So some of it is going to be super easy because Diamond and us use the same series codes for most things. Diamond has their own series codes though for DC stuff. So we're just going to have to figure out how to map that. But once we have all of Diamond's series codes in our system, we assign them our own GeekFetch series code, which can then be reverse mapped to everybody's series code. So we don't really care whose series code does what. Jeff grabbed them directly from Diamond. Yeah, so we're looking at them. I don't know what the answer is right now. Will customers be able to see and order back issue comics that we have in stock through Managed Comics 2.0? Great question. No. And the reason for that is Managed Comics is concerned about the future and Shopify is the past. And I don't mean that like, oh, Shopify is old and fuddy-duddy. What I mean is the day that something comes in, that's the day that Managed Comics allocates it. So if it's something old, like let's say Amazing Fantasy 15, we don't really have any history on stuff like that. We're only concerned with things that are coming in kind of off the shelf. So it would actually sell off your regular website. Now, in the future, and I mean a year from now, we are going to ingest a like 1 million item database so that we can simplify the process of you getting that stuff onto your website. But we don't have that right now. Man, so many questions. This is great, guys. Hey there, I'm BinderPause customer and would like to start using a product. Any ETA when you'll start allowing new customers? Yeah, so it'll be about a month. I'll get to that at the end. BinderPause guys, we've got a special deal for you, and you'll hear from them soon about that stuff. How does theme and style combine with Binder and them adding Managed Comics to it? Yeah, so actually, BD Cosmos is one of our customers who's also a Binder customer. Super easy. So we just added a link to their site, and I got it running like within 5 minutes. And they were a test case, so I knew I was going to have to kind of massage things. It was so easy. We did actually run into a really great bug this week, where we found out that we were deleting all of the pages on the Shopify site when we created our stuff. It's okay, we recovered them. So the 3 stores that had that happen, but I'm glad it happened on 3 stores, and this is why we did it on a small scale, because I recreated 3 stores about us and contact us pages because I felt so bad. But yeah, that would have been a nightmare if we would have had to do this. How does the system differ from special orders versus pre-orders or special orders? Okay, so new releases and pre-orders are kind of treated the same way in that they're all just so a series is tracked with the series code, and then we attribute that to the individual month codes. And I'm saying those words, but they're not really how they work on the back end. We have our own GeekFetch IDs for everything. And GeekFetch is our database that powers Managed Comics. So if you hear me throwing that term out, that's what it means. Special orders, we track those as the time that they come in, then that's a special order. So if somebody orders a Watchman, for example, that'll get tracked as a new order for something that will come out in the future. Can people pay for their stuff through Managed Comics too? Yeah, so we will actually create draft invoices in Managed Comics too, and those invoices get emailed to your customers, and then your customers can pay for everything online, or I think you can disable the sending of draft orders. But yeah, absolutely, they can pay for stuff online. When customers have pre-orders or special orders, can they view those items with release dates? Yes. So actually, let me show you. I'm logged in as a customer right now. Does it have release dates? Ooh, that's a good question. I think our subscriptions only have the issue that's coming out, but it doesn't necessarily. Oh, no. So pre-orders do have release dates. Subscriptions don't, because this changes so often. So on this page, we'll have shipping date, but yeah, they'd have to jump through to find out which their next issue will ship. But their pre-orders for sure have ship dates. Can I use the system without Shopify? So you at least have to have a Shopify front end. So you have to have like a Shopify web store. If you don't have a Shopify web store, 2.0 won't work for you, because this stuff all hangs off of Shopify. And the back end is all Shopify admin screens. So we don't have a way of doing it without it. When we did our survey back in, I don't know, I feel like it was like 6 months ago, about 80% of the people that we surveyed said that they were on Shopify. So that's why we use Shopify as our platform. And yeah, everything is kind of built around Shopify. I don't know if we'll ever be able to go ahead. Is there a listing for all FOC items? Yeah, we've you can browse by FOC, and it shows you all the items from all the publishers and everything. Okay, I'm going to go through some of my questions. How does one special order books that aren't there, such as a C cover from the new Venom series? So right now, at this exact moment in time, we only show one alternative cover, and that's because we're still working on the logic that works for ratioed variants. So we'll have that figured out in a couple weeks, and then we'll adjust this so that it can show different variant covers. How do we fix images that we don't have images for? We're going to actually create a tool so you guys can update images, and then once one person updates them, the entire network of stores will get them. By the way, I thought this was kind of cool. This is Dreamers. This is Longbox. This is my test shop. This is Dreamers and Make Believers. So they're a shop in Baltimore that's just opening up soon. And this is their version of Managed Comics. This is GTX Comics in Texas. And this is their version of Managed Comics. So it's just cool for me to see it on different sites and running. Yeah, I'm really excited to see this stuff. Next question. The search bar currently doesn't allow you to search by diamond or lunar codes. That is true. We will fix that. I'll be honest, I kind of wanted to make it agnostic from codes, but I do realize that people use codes to search things. So we will add that in there. So I get a lot of questions about Canadian and UK pricing. For those of you in the United States, please just close your ears. So we're actually building pricing tables for Canadian and UK pricing. What we'll do is we'll build initial tables, and we'll let you have access to those tables so you can edit your own table in your store. I just know as a Canadian that a lot of stores will have kind of like a poster that says this is our Canadian prices versus the US prices. Let me just note this, and I'll jump back to I see there's a couple things. Comic covers are often added right around FOCs on Fridays, and then sometimes later. How timely will Managed Comics be getting these covers added? That's an awesome question. So we have a process that runs every night at midnight that fetches Diamond's new releases, newly added, and FOC updates. So we get those from Diamond. I've got to work with Lunar on how they get theirs. And Penguin Random House is amazing because they actually drop everything into an FTP bucket every night for us. So we just grab everything, and then we update Managed Comics every night. So yeah, every night we have the latest stuff at midnight. So yeah, you'll have stuff for FOC cutoff. Can you? Hey, it's Dal from Challengers. Hey, that reminds me. I have two things that I'm going to mention today. Two podcasts I listen to religiously. Challengers of the Contest of Challengers. From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago. I listen to that one every week, and the amount of insight that me and my team have gotten from listening to them and listening to their challenges, pun, is just amazing. So I want to give a shout out to you guys at Challengers, just because you provide a massive service for us. The other one is, and this one's just purely fun, Django and crew at a comics place in Bellingham, Washington. Love their show too, and I highly recommend you check that out. What I love about their show is they only talk about stuff they like, so it's never negative. And I've discovered more like weird comics like Cherry Blackbird from them than I have from any other thing. So just a quick interlude there. That was my promotion. This show was brought to you by Challengers Comics and Conversation and... No, I'm just kidding. So can I talk specifically about migrating from RMH? Specifically, we'll be able to move over open purchase orders and restock info. And how does that transfer process work for subscription info? So I'm going to hit the first part first. I don't know yet. We'll figure that out. I'm not too worried about it, and I'll tell you why. Because we're actually creating a system that will allow us to import anything as a purchase order. So as long as you can get those out of RMH as a purchase order, you would put them into Managed Comics as a purchase order. And then we can kind of manipulate them from there. The second part of the question, how does the transfer process work for subscription info? So, and just keeping in mind that I've actually done this before for 1.0. It's not terribly elegant, but the new version I think will be a lot better, just because I learned so much from the first version. So in RMH, I know that you have a customer list that you can export. That's great. We'll use that for our Shopify stuff. I think you guys are using Octopus, so that's probably synced already. If not, it should be fairly easily. The other part is I have a way of pulling out all of the subscription information, and what we get is the series code, the title, all kinds of stuff that we can kind of manipulate. And then of course the customer name. I think it goes by name. It's kind of ugly. It really should be on a primary key like an email, but name will work. And then once we do that, we can match those up to our series codes, which are just cleaner versions of the ones that they've got in Diamond, and more consistent. Do we report the damages and shorts through the Managed Comics interface? So this is one problem that I'm hoping we can resolve in the next year or so. There is no, like RMH is actually tied into Diamond, but Diamond is a closed system, right? You can't just program for Diamond. So right now you would have to call that in or fax it in or email or whatever, or carrier pigeon or whatever other amazing technologies Diamond uses. But I would like to be able to work with Diamond and work with Lunar and work with Penguin Random House and make those processes much simpler. So my goal is to help kind of facilitate the technology of running a modern bookstore and allow Diamond to facilitate the technology of running a distribution center. And I'm hoping we can kind of, play together nicely. Can you demo the process of receiving, get invoice file, import, see receiving screen, note shortages? I could, and it's not that hard, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to actually send you an email, or I'll send you a link to our demo. I've done this 1,000 times in videos, and it will actually show you step by step. I think that's probably a better use of our time than me going through something that's actually, I don't even know if it'll work with this store because I just created this store a couple days ago and I only have like 3 customers in it. And I don't even know if I have an invoice right now that I could upload. So last time I did a demo on, so if you look on our channel, the last screen or live show that we did, we actually did the demo of the process of receiving. If a customer wants to make a special order of a back issue that is still in stock with our distributor, we'll be able to put that into Managed Comics so it tells us who gets it when it arrives. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if as long as we have it in our 350,000 product database, spoiler alert, we probably do. If your distributor has it, we most likely have it in our database. If we didn't, you can actually create a special order that doesn't have anything, as long as it's got like a code. And once that code comes in, our system will just kind of sync up with it. All right, man, it's dry down here in my basement today for some reason. Let me ask this question. How do we create items or series that don't show up? So if something doesn't show up on Managed Comics somewhere, how do you create it? There's no way, but you can create a help ticket and then we'll create it. We're going to create tools in the future, probably in a couple months, where you'll be able to add things to the database and we'll basically clean them up and put them in. That said, if something comes into you ingest something, so you get an order from Ingram, for example, and Ingram has a Tor book for some reason that we don't have in our system, you can create that at that time, and then we will actually augment the information once we get it, and we'll go, fetch the proper information and get that. When will you be supporting custom IDs for customers? So like, box numbers and stuff like that. We will do that this next week or two. It just actually slipped our mind when we were creating everything, because we can add, so on the customer level, we actually add their subscription discount, and we can add the custom ID, which we'll do. How do products get updated after a publisher changes the release date? So this ties back to the question about late coming FOC stuff. We actually are constantly augmenting our data every single night. So if they change the release date, that's actually one of the fields we get in the data we get. And so that actually kind of trickles through the entire system. What if I order books from one distributor and then I get them from another distributor? Will it double pull those books? Why would you do that? Why? We live in a one distributor world. There's just get things from Diamond. It makes it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So our system is smart enough to know if you get 15 copies of something and you have 14 orders for it, you get 5 copies in from Ingram, you get 5 copies in from Penguin Random House, and you get 5 copies in from Diamond. As they come in, it's going to allocate them for the subscribers, and then it's going to have one left over at the end of it. And it's smart enough that it knows I've already given Bob these, so I'm not going to give him this again. I've already given Janet, all those people. It starts at number 4 or 5 and works its way up after that. And number 9, I'm going to ask one more time. Any other questions before I go to the big question, which is, do we have a timeline for migration? Brandon, we often get a lot of stuff direct from Shortbox and Piao and TKO and the like. So being able to add would be yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's one of the cool things is I think that when we build, I seem to love saying that. That's one of the cool things. When we build the PO system so that you can actually enter your purchase orders right in there, that will actually trigger us to create new products. So if you enter in, like I said, like a tour book or something that we absolutely positively don't have in our database, we'll go out and fetch the information and kind of augment it. So by the time it comes in, we'll have it. Thanks for the answers, Brian. I think this is my last question. If a comic has multiple non-incentive variants, can a customer see and order all of them? So today, right now, August 19th, 2021, no. But we are working on that. So it's all part of it because there's no consistency around how incentive covers work. We can only show one, which is the B cover, because we know that those ones 99.9% of the time, except for Marvel, are always going to be non-ratioed. So as soon as we figure out how to get the ratio information in, then we'll hit that stuff, and then we'll allow more. We're talking within the month, we'll have this all figured out. To add non-comic book items such as dice, posters, or card sleeves, do we just use Shopify item import? Yeah, so we do have a managed comics utility that will allow you to add anything from our 350,000 products. So the idea is when you get anything in, you will, I may have to rename this so that we have a couple of different ways of bringing things in, but we actually create every single product in your database, whether that's the Shopify POS or the online thing. So we create it with all the tags that are necessary, images, your cost, so you can do, cost of goods sold, transactions and things like that. So we will have that for sure. Oh my goodness, you guys are just asking tons of questions. This is so great. So my number one fear was that I was going to get on here and it'd be like me talking at my screen for 20 minutes. And I had a plan on how I was going to handle that. I've actually got a blog post that I can read, but I don't think I'm going to get that today. I have customers that don't remember what they bought. Is there a function for customers to see what they've gotten previously? Yeah, absolutely. So what's cool, I can see my pulled orders. So this is things that are currently in, and next to that will be your completed orders. And that shows you everything you've gotten in the past. It's funny, I was in a shop today and I actually literally heard that. The guy said, do I have Black Cat number 9? And the store was like, I think you do. And they checked and yeah, you do. So they're using Mobi, which is a fairly old system, but yeah, it could toll them very quickly. I'm not sure if this was asked. I know you can create your own SKUs. If customers searching using dining SKUs or catalog code, will they be able? Yeah, so we're gonna add. So we don't have diamond SKUs and lunar SKUs in here yet to search by, just because it kind of slipped our mind. And I was thinking that people didn't search that way, but apparently I'm wrong. And when I'm wrong, I do the right thing and make it right. Danica, which I'm not sure if this is really Danica or if it's Brandon, because Brandon said that it was Danica earlier. So I feel like I'm sitting on a throne of lies here, guys. Is it possible to update change release dates for special orders? On the back end, I mean, I can currently edit them myself. Don't always catch it. Is it update change release dates? So if a release date for the special order changes, so we will catch that in the back end, and those things will get updated, because this is just a product in our database. And so when any of this information changes, excuse me, that was gross. Let's say that it goes from being the AT-AT Walker, and by the way, I'm a Gen X, so this is AT-AT, not AT-AT, 3D foam magnet, and it becomes just the AT-AT Walker 3D magnet. This would just get changed, and there's nothing you have to do. It just happens magically. Can we create our own subscriptions like all Marvel #1s or all Scotty Young covers and associate the appropriate item to that subscription? No, but we should actually. So we're going to have our own group logic, and the group logic is really for things like Fear State. So if you want somebody to subscribe all of Fear State, we'll have that. I'd actually never thought of creating a group system for stores, but yeah, we can open that up. Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea. I guess the biggest thing about anything we do with Managed Comics is I have this crazy dream where all of us together are smarter than any of us individually. And so if you get something in, I would like that to kind of contribute to the collective, in that all of us will now be able to get that thing in, and the work of creating that product will be done. So yeah, that's really important to me. So when we think of things like this, where we say all covers or all Scotty Youngs, I'd kind of like a way for that to be available to the collective, just because often one store will have a really, really smart idea, and then when other people catch on to it, a rising tide raises all ships, I think is the saying, right? So yeah, something like that would be really cool. That's an awesome suggestion, Jeff. So Danica is on our own computer now. Okay. All right. The throne of lies feels like it's slightly lifted now. I feel a little bit better. So timeline for migration and launch. So we are live now. Been live for a week. I'm really, really happy with where we are. This is my list of bugs that we're going through right now. So a lot of them are silly and like simple, like the subscribe button colors aren't intuitive and the same. And by the way, those are two different stores, so it's not like I'm totally off my rocker, but yeah, it's like it has a same blue here, but on the B covers it's got a white background. So we've just got to do a tiny little bit of work there. Default text I want to change, because I had to change it from default text to subscribe to series. Some really simple things. Subscribe to series button when signed in. As a store, I want to. So this is the way that we create stories, so that we know who it is that wants the thing done. I want to import products that have not had an invoice created yet. So we've got a whole kind of way that we're going to do that. As a store, I want to be able to ignore items on an invoice. So if something comes in, I want to be able to say, I've already received this somehow. That goes back to this one here, which is, as a store, I want to import stuff that's not had an invoice. This is directly our Penguin Random House thing. This is how ugly some of our stories are when we're developing them. So yeah, this is all to do with Penguin Random House. As a store owner, I'd like to see discounts on all of my customers. Really simple. I just want to see the discount rate on every customer and not just on the ones that I've manually set it, and we'll also treat visually the ones that we've manually set different than the ones that are just kind of by default set. As a customer, I want the filters to be smart. So this is something that's not happening right now, that these filters aren't taking into account what's showing. So it really should only show the publishers that are there on that release date. Right now, it just defaults to everything. As a customer, I'd like to understand how to add, delete quantity. So on the actual subscription thing, we're just going to make some changes so that this makes more sense. And that so that things like, good example here is this guy had 1 copy of Alien 5 and then he added 9. So we're going to put that on its own line item. And then once the FOC, this would eventually become 10. If he deleted 9 later, it would be its own line item, and it would say, like, you can't delete these because you have them after the FOC. No. Yeah, this is a dumb thing. Pre-orders search box is super slow. Mac bug, just an ugly visual thing. It still works, but it looks like crap. Geekfetch weird bug. As a store, so this is just my story for how we're building the initial order and FOC order to show history and sales. We have lots of guys that want all Marvel #1s. Escape Velocity says, so the system today can't do group titles like All King in Black. Right today it can't, but that's like one of the bigger stories that we're working on. We call it groups, so group series. It's kind of one of the key pieces of Moby that made it so incredibly powerful. So we recognize how important that is, and we'll get that in before we're launched in a month. So yeah, our two primary things are groups, which is actually a data problem and not a managed comics problem. It's a Geekfetch problem. So it's being worked on kind of separately. And just our initial orders and really kind of cleaning up initial orders and not cleaning up, but really enhancing them so that initial orders and POs kind of all work together. And I'll be honest, that is the most complex thing that we will do. I always thought it was pulls, but pulls, it turns out, are fairly straightforward. Stuff comes in, you allocate that stuff back out. POs are a little bit complicated because we've got so many different distributors we're working with. We don't always have the data for those distributors. Bad Idea sometimes does weird things like passive aggressive, which both have the same UPC codes, weird things like that. So yeah, how we deal with that stuff going forward is a little bit of a puzzle, and putting all those puzzles together. What's funny is, like, when I go through this list looks huge, but it's honestly like most of this is a couple hours work. This one's huge, right? As a store, I want my initial orders and FOC orders to show order history and sales history. That's big, but everything else is really, really small. They're very quick little things. So yeah, I'm not worried about anything here. Yeah, the hard work is kind of behind us. So now it's honestly enhancing and making things better. And this stuff is in use right now, and it's working very well. So yeah, I'm not too worried at all. So yeah, we went 45 minutes. I was worried we were only going to go 10. I think we've answered a bunch of questions. Thank you to everyone for asking your questions. And we are available all the time. So if you have a question that comes up afterwards, send it to help@managedcomics.com. I usually get back to people within an hour or so. If it's something more complicated, I'll probably bring the team in to figure it out. But by and large, we usually get back within an hour. Yeah, and check out managedcomics.com and take a look at a couple of pages there. We do have a link to the last. Let me go pull up the last. If you go onto our blog, there is a link to the previous So this announcement thing was the thing where we prematurely said that we would be live on August 11th. Because I didn't think it would take us 6 weeks to get through Shopify's approval process, but foolish me. There's a couple other good things here. I had this column written a few weeks ago. 6 warning signs you're doing subscriptions wrong. Just little things like, orders take too long. There's a lot of uncertainty, cash flow. Shrinking subscriptions and no add-on sales are 2 probably big ones. I think a lot of this stuff is going to be addressed with Managed Comics in terms of as we get smarter over time, we're going to add some of that kind of quote unquote Amazon, if you like this, you would also like this logic, and stuff like that. And then this article is just about modern POSs and how different they are. I'll tell you, as an aesthetics guy, looking at something like RMS or Mobi just kind of hurts my soul a little bit, especially things like Mobi that, you still have to use Windows 7 or old versions of Mac OS. They just scare me because that stuff is so fragile and you never know when the machine's going to go down and everything's going to die. And I know that in theory, the cloud can go down, but the chance that the cloud's going to go down forever is pretty slim. I know the internet goes down all the time, but with I was tethered to my iPad at the store I was at today, and I'm confident that you could do that if you were in a pickle. Just tether your phone to your iPad and still run your store completely fine. So that became a little bit of a rant. Anyway, that's it for this week, and we will be doing kind of regular check-ins. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a video every week, but I will do them at least once every 2 weeks. And I think I'm pretty confident in saying that we should be live by the second week in September. Yeah, probably. And by the second week, I mean the week of like the 6th to the 10th. Probably won't go live on Labor Day, but I would imagine by the 13th, which is the following week, that we'll be ready to go. We don't have a whole ton of stuff to get done right now. Next week, as we bring in our next kind of group of stores, they're bigger stores that actually have fairly significant customer lists. So that's when I figure that we'll figure out how to import massive lists, and I'm pretty confident that we'll get that done fairly quickly. And then that gives us, a couple weeks. And so I really wanted us to get through an initial order system, initial order process with this system, especially with the added complexity of PRH, which we've never had to deal with before this month. So getting all that stuff through, I'll feel really confident about going live in a few weeks. So the next time that we talk will probably be, I'm thinking September 2nd. And at that time, I think we'll be super confident in what our official launch date is. I know I hear it from tons of people that are saying, like, I want this now. And I don't want to put something out there that's not our absolute best foot. The folks that we're working with right now are people that I've got a relationship with that I feel like super confident that they'll be honest with us when something doesn't work, and that we'll be able to kind of troubleshoot things. So that's why we're going a little bit slow. I apologize for it, but I think in the end it'll be best. Jeff, last question. Can there be an option to add annuals to subscriptions? It's funny. So by default, we've always just kind of considered annuals part of a subscription. I didn't know there was another way, really, because it's just how my brain has always worked as a collector's. But yeah, absolutely, you can add them. It's just a different type of group, so they'll be grouped together. What would be really, really helpful is if the distributors and publishers actually helped us by, creating a tag that was like series code -A, so that we could do stuff like that. By the way, I am talking with Comics Pro. We've had a couple discussions. There's a data group that is all working together, and we're basically all trying to influence the industry and say, this is how we'd like the data to go going forward. And this just benefits every single retailer, because if we can have a consistent way of getting the stuff in, then everybody has a consistent way of using that data going forward. And it doesn't lock you into my system or RMH or anything, because you'll be able to, portability of data is like super important. So yeah, that's something I'm really passionate about, and I'll be working on very hard in the next year. All right, I have rambled on enough for this week. Tune in 2 weeks, let's say September 2nd, same time, same place, and we'll do it all again. Thanks, folks.